A little introduction about Srinivasji. He is traditionally trained in Krishna Yajurveda under the tutelage of B.R. Sri Krishna Ganapatiji. He has undergone the Adhyayana of Tarka Shastra under the tutelage of Dr. A.V. Radheshyam. He has studied Vyakarana under the tutelage of Dr. G.S.V. Dattatreya Murthy. He has completed his Adhyayana of Advaita Vedanta under the tutelage of Mahopadhyay Dr. R. Mani Dravida Sastrigal. He completed the prestigious Tenali examinations Sri Kanchi Veda Vedanta Shastra Sabha in Nyaya Shastram and has been conferred titles like Tarka Ratnam Vidwan Mani, Shastra Kalanidhi by His Holiness Kanchi Shankaracharya and Governor of Madhya Pradesh. He is currently appearing for Tenali examinations in Advaita Vedanta. He is currently working as an assistant professor as Kavi Kula Guru Kalidas Sanskrit University, Ramtek. He is also working as an educational consultant in Brihat Culture Creators LLP, who are our knowledge partners. So, welcome, Srinivasji.
Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Lam Vishnu Shashivatnam Sarvabhaum Prasannadanam Dhyayet Sarvavighnopashantaye Ajnanatimirandhasya Jnananjanashalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Gurur Brahma Gurur Vishnu Gurur Devo Maheshwaraha Guru Sakshat Parabrahma Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Namaste to all the gurus who are present here, because this is an FDP and I think a lot younger here. So I first of all have the pranam. I pranam all the gurus, whoever is here, and I would like to share some aspects of Anvikshaki only, at the same time with schools and thinkers also. So that you can get a comprehensive understanding of what Anvikshaki is all about. So, first of all, I start with the purpose of Anvikshaki, or the greatness of Anvikshaki is has been expressed by Chanakya in the Arthashastra as Pradeepas Sarva Vidyanam, Upayas Sarva Karmanam, Ashrayas Sarva Dharmanam, Vidyo Shashvad Anvikshaki Mata. So, in order to put it in a very common man words, our elders, they used to have this simile of comparing Anvikshaki or Tarkavidya with salt. So it is like Tarkavidya, they used to say it is like salt, जो कि हमारे खाने में नमक के बिना होता नहीं है, और सिर्फ नमक को हम कुछ नहीं कर सकते. मतलब you cannot have any dish without a salt. I mean, any dish without a salt is tasteless. At the same time, you cannot only consume salt as a food. So in the same way, here, Pradeepas Sarva Vidyana. So it is like a lamp to all the Vidyas. Whatever the Vidya or source of knowledge or knowledge form, each and everywhere the Nyaya Vidya or Anvikshaki is useful, because you need to be reasonable first of all. If you are actually propounding, or if you want to establish something, if you want to express yourself, it should be in a logical manner. It should not be heavy. It should be structural. It should be reasonable. So it should have a structure to it. It should have. It should be logical. So it should be sensible. It should be understandable. It should be crystal clear. And all these aspects can be achieved by the study of Anvikshaki. So that is why they used to say Tarkavidya to be like a salt. So you need a pinch of salt in each and every dish. So in the same way, all the Vidyas and all the kind of knowledge sources need reasoning to it, and which is the main core subject of Anvikshaki. That is logic, reasoning, and whatever the allied aspects of reasoning. And Upayas Sarvakarmanam. So this is like stating that each and everywhere, the essence of the whole this thing is that wherever you go, whatever you want to know, the means of knowledge are whatever you need in order to know something or in order to know the essence of it. uh, you have many elements from Tarka Vidya which are the core aspects of it. I mean, Tarka Vidya or Anvikshaki itself deals with such kind of content. In the coming slides, I will be explaining what are the unique concepts of Tarka Vidya or Anvikshaki, which are useful even in our day-to-day life also. And in Kamandaki and Itisara, there are certain vidyas or certain knowledge sources which are told to be universal. I mean, each and everyone has to have, or at least the administrator, as it is Nitisara and the context is about what are the vidyas or the vidyas that an administrator should have. It is Anvikshaki, Trayi Varta, Danda Nitischa Shashvatah, Vidyas Chatasra Evaitaha, Loka Samsthiti Hetavaha. So Anvikshaki, that is Tarka Vidya, Trayi is Veda, Varta is mercantile, Dandaniti is again. So these are the Vidyas that an administrator should have, should know about. So Vidyas Chatasra Evaitaha Loka Samsthiti Hetavaha. In order to maintain Loka Samsthiti, that is the equilibrium of the lokas, or administrating your, at least it could be even if you want to be a good administrator, if you want to lead some people, if you want to lead a team. So, what are the knowledge sources or knowledge that you need to have is these four, and in those four, Anvikshaki comes first. I think I'll skip the etymological meaning of what is Anvikshaki, because I think the previous session we had that Anu Iksha, that is examination followed by preliminary understanding. So here I would like to add a point on what Madam has actually explained, is the approach that has been stated in the Nyaya Shastra. How examination followed by preliminary understanding. Anu Ikshanam. Shravanadanu Iksha Paryalochanam Prayojanam Asyaha. Shravanadanu. Shravanam means here it is the preliminary knowledge. That is the first understanding. After seeing something or hearing something or knowing something, you don't take it as it to be valid and you need to examine it. So, in order to examine something, you need to have knowledge about some of the constituents of examination. How do you examine something? So, in order to examine something, you need some tools to examine. So, those tools are given, or regarding those tools, the exploration, I mean, whatever the knowledge needed to understanding to have to know about those tools are actually explained in the Nyaya Vidya. So, something like you have seen something and do you take it to be valid or not? I mean, you have seen something like a very classical example would be you have seen a rope and you mistook it to be a snake or something. So the first preliminary understanding would be of the perception of snake. You have seen something and you understood it to be snake and you are reacting to it. So you need to examine whether your preliminary knowledge is right or not, right? So you need to examine it. How do you examine it? Or else you have seen something, you are seeing smoke, but your knowledge is about fire. So the knowledge is of, I mean, the knowledge of smoke is triggering the knowledge of fire, or something else. You have seen a CC footage of somewhere a building is shaking or something is shaking, and the moment you actually see that, after seeing the video, you actually recollect or you understand that there is an earthquake. The video is about earthquake. So there is a, actually you're seeing something and something else is getting triggered. So how is it happening? So there is actually a process. You know, I'm speaking something and you are understanding something. How is this happening? There is a process of this, which is called as knowledge representation nowadays. So, how is knowledge represented? How do you acquire knowledge? How do you again reproduce that knowledge? How do you represent that in various forms? It could be in verbal, at times it could be imaginary, it could be, you can even show it in visual. Nowadays we have many kind of tools with us in order to express ourselves. So, how do we do that? So, how is knowledge actually uh, retained? How do we forget? Why do we forget things? How do you remember something? How do you remember something from your childhood? Where is this knowledge coming from? And there is something like you come up with new ideas. What is creativity? How do you can you actually is there any method for iterating new ideas? Where from the ideas come from? So there are many questions which we actually do not examine. There are many things in our lives which we actually take it for granted, and if we start questioning about those things, you really don't know what it is about. It is more like what we normally use, the mind, the word mind a lot. We never know what mind is actually. What is mind? What is body? If you say body, what do you mean by body? If you say you want to determine whether it is good or bad, so how do you define good or bad? How do you define sad and happiness? So we actually take it for granted many things in our life. So if we keep on asking questions, so at a point of time, there comes a point wherein you don't find an answer. So the knowledge of Anvikshaki helps us in finding those answers. Even it is moreover like it even helps you in asking the right kind of questions. We are trained in, we are actually, the system is such that you are trained in to ask the right kind of questions. The answers are there out there. It is only that you have to ask the right question to get the right answer. So, what is the process? What could be the process of it? And what are the elements in logic, I mean, in this process? So such aspects are dealt in Anvikshaki. So even examination, there also we have this in the Nyaya Sutras. There is a structure of putting things like Uddeshaha, Lakshanam and Pariksha. So how do you explain something? In order to explain something structurally, what could be the path? They said a path, there is a path, something called as Uddeshaha, Lakshanam and Pariksha. First you state something. What do you want to, explain about? That is Namana Padartha Sankirtanam Uddeshaha. First you state, I want to explain about a particular thing. So you state a topic. Then you define the subject of the topic, Lakshanam. Then comes definition. Then you define it so that you're setting up a boundary to it. You're not going somewhere. So you're focusing upon something. Then comes pariksha. Then you examine. So that you're now, before starting the session, I did a Mangala Charanam. I recited 2 to 3 slokas, wherein I did pranam to my gurus and my Ishta Devata, and then I started. So in this process, what happens is all my sensory organs, my mind, get focused into what I want to actually explain here, or for this session, I am getting myself focused. That Mangalacharanam helps me in that way. So in the same way, I started with one kind of a statement. So that is my opening statement. That is Uddesham. So what is the topic? It is about Anvikshaki. Schools and thinkers is the subtopic of it. So I have to focus upon that. So first I need to state what Anvikshaki is about, then go for schools and thinkers, then go for some other, more detailed parts of. So there is a structure to it. Where from did I know this? I came to know this from Anviksh, the Nyaya Shastra. Because in Nyaya Shastra also you have this state, this structure to it. It is being stated in the Bhashya itself. That is Uddeshya. First, the sutras go in such a way that the the first sutra is called as Uddesha Sutra. So in the first sutra itself, it is kind of an essence of all the Shastra. The essence of all the whole subject is there, is stated in one sutra, in the first sutra itself. That is why if you see, it is not only with the Nyaya Shastra, but all the darshanas, all the shastras are in the same way. So it is moreover like, that is the difference from the Western perspective and the Eastern perspective, is that in the Western perspective, they start with the inquiry. They ask the question about what do you want to research about, or they get to the conclusion in the last. But it is the way around in the Eastern, in the Bharatiya Parampara, we start with the conclusion rather. We state the Siddhanta first. The essence of the whole knowledge system is being stated in the first sutra. What is yoga? Yogaha chittavritti nirodha. Done, actually. Yoga chittavritti nirodha, the first sutra of the Yoga Sutras, is the whole essence of the Yoga Shastra itself. And then you start asking questions about what is chitta, what is vritti, what is nirodha, what is the process of it. The whole Shastra is being, the essence of the whole Shastra is stated in the first sutra itself. So that is called as Uddesha. And then you start defining things. So then comes Lakshanam. Then comes Pariksha. So you define each and everything in the Uddesha. So the first sutra of Nyaya Sutras goes something like Pramana, Prameya, Samshaya, Prayojana, Drishtanta, Siddhanta. So it states about 16 padarthas, 16 elements. That means the Nyaya Sutra or the Nyaya Darshana, it classifies the whole universe into 16 padarthas. Okay, and then that is the Uddesha Sutra, and the Tattva Jnana of all these 16 padarthas will lead to something called as moksha. So the whole purpose of the Shastra, the whole process of the or the objective of the Shastra, Darshana, has been stated in the first sutra itself. And then systematically, some parts of it are defined. Each and every part of it is defined. There comes definition. So the art of definition. So how do you define things? Sutra is like kind of a essence of whole thing is being told to you in a very short form. It's an essence. Each and every word of a sutra is moreover like it is telling you in a short form. Essence of the whole thing is said in very few words, and each and every word of a sutra has very much purpose and meaning to it. Without any purpose or meaning, there will be not a single syllable in a sutra. That itself is what is called a sutra. Not each and every a group of alphabets is not a sutra. Yeah. So it is each and every syllable or each and every thing will have a purpose to it and a meaning to it, and then you keep on elaborating upon each and every aspect of the sutra by defining them. So what is pramana? What is prameya? What is samshaya? So you define things. So how do you define? Is there any method of defining things? Yes, there is a method of defining. That is one of the unique topics of Nyaya Shastra. The art of definition, which is not there even in in the other darshanas or in other knowledge systems, you don't have this. So it is very much unique to the Nyaya Darshana, that you have something called as how to define things. There is something called as a definition, lakshana. So there is a definition for a definition. So it is a universal definition to all the definitions. So even a definition will again be examined whether this fits to be a definition or not. So how do you examine a definition? You have again techniques to it. You have again, so in that way, then comes the definition, and then you examine the subject. Definition is done, and then you start asking logical questions about it. Then comes the Purvaksha. Then you again think about the logic. Is there any invariable concomitance or Vyapti, the thing, which was explained in the previous session. So in that way, it has a systematic manner uh, to explain things. So this is one aspect of Anvikshaki where it can be used, or it is being used, or it has been used in the other Shastras also. But this aspect of Uddesha, Lakshanam, Pariksha has been propounded only in Nyaya Shastra. In that way, again, I wish to again take it to, again comparing Nyaya Shastra with salt. So many such concepts of Nyaya Shastra or Anvikshaki as a Vidya are being used, they will be used, or they have been used in the other subjects also. So it is known as Hetu Shastra, Tarka Vidya, Pramana Shastra, Vada Vidya, Nyaya Vidya. These are all the other names of uh, uh, Anvikshaki. And then a small introduction to Darshanas. What is a Darshana? Drishyate Yathartha Tattvam Aneneti Darshanam, through which one can know the truth, is called as Darshanam. So what is the truth? Again, there comes again a question about what is truth. So there are many questions wherein without the help of the Shastras or the techniques that have been explained by the Shastras, one cannot come to an what you call a conclusion, or a very clear cut knowledge cannot be derived, such as very abstract things. Who are you? What are you? How are you knowing things? I mean, what is sensory perception? How do you define a sensory organ? How do you define knowledge? What is the process of knowledge? There are many things which we actually taken granted for, and we actually use that system, but we do not examine how is actually the system working. So such things are dealt in normally in the Darshan Shastra. Moreover, like, what is life all about? I mean, it's normally a question I wish to ask everyone. So it is moreover like, from जब से उठते हैं और नींद के लिए जाते हैं, वहां तक हर दिन हम दो चीज में बता सकते हैं. एक है सुख और सुख के अनुभव और दुख के अनुभव. At the end, life is all about these two things. सुखस्य अनुभवः दुःखस्य वा अनुभवः. वहीं पर जाता है. At the end, it is going to be whether you are happy about it or whether you are sad about it. That's it. End result क्या होता है? आप इस सेशन से बोर हो सकते हो, जिसका एंड रिजल्ट है दुख. आप इस सेशन से आप अच्छा महसूस करते हो, जिसका होता है सुख. बस जिस आंसर के बाद में फिर से क्वेश्चन नहीं होता है ना, वो आंसर क्या है? ईच एंड एवरीवन हैज देयर ओन वे ऑफ अंडरस्टैंडिंग थिंग्स. तो उसीलिए मेरे लिए जो अच्छा होता है आपके लिए बुरा हो सकता है. इसीलिए हर एक का एक्चुअली हम देखेंगे तो फिलॉसफी अलग ही है. माने ही हम सभी लोग बोलते हैं कि वी ऑल बिलोंग टू मे बी वन पर्टिकुलर, मतलब एक तरह की लाइफस्टाइल, मतलब सनातन धर्म के हो या नहीं हो, कुछ भी बताइए, फिर भी ईच एंड हर एक व्यक्ति का एक नजरिया जो होता है, मतलब जीवन के ऊपर, वो अलग होता है. मेरा अलग है, आपका अलग है, किसी और का अलग है. तो इसीलिए हमारा जो रिएक्शन एक ही सिचुएशन का होता है वो बहुत ही अलग से होता है. मेरा प्रश्न उसके ऊपर है, क्यों ऐसा? वो उसके लिए समाधान देने के लिए आपको जो टूल्स चाहिए, मतलब ऐसे जो वही बहुत ही एब्स्ट्रैक्ट चीजें होते हैं जो हम टेक इट फॉर ग्रांटेड लेते हैं लाइफ में, जो हम समझते हैं कि हमको पता है, उन चीजों के ऊपर जो आपको एक मतलब कैसा उसको आप एग्जामिन करें। यदि ये शास्त्र नहीं होता तो आपके पास वो टूल नहीं रहता जिससे आप एग्जामिन कर सकते हैं। ये शास्त्र आपको वो टूल देता है, वो साधन देता है जिनके जिसके सहारे आप जाके उसको एग्जामिन कर सके। So for that, logic is very much needed because we are not dogmatic. Our society is not dogmatic as it was presented until now. No, we don't believe. हमारे पास मूढ़ता को मूढ़ता ही कहाँ है? नहीं नहीं रक्षित डुक्करी करने आदि शंकराचार्य ने ही बताया। So the darshan shastra or anvikshaki in coming to again, so it helps us, or the darshan shastra itself helps us in understanding or equipping us, I would rather say. It equips the student of darshan shastra to examine things actually. So that is why it is universally applicable. The knowledge of darshan shastra is universally applicable. Whatever subject you may take, or the elements of Anvikshaki, coming to again to Anvikshaki, whatever the elements or the subjects that have been or the topics have been explored in Anvikshaki are useful to us in any subject. Any subject, I say. आप मतलब जब से उठते हैं सोते हैं नींद में, वहां पे हर एक चीज में, even if when you are brushing your teeth, there is a process of how to do dantadhavanam. You know, when the Dharmashastra state how should you brush your teeth, clean your teeth. Do you know that? There is something called as Dinacharya in Ashtanga Hridaya. So Ashtanga Hridaya is a text of Ayurveda. So they say how should you an ideal lifestyle should be, day-to-day routine should be. So even there is again a logical what do you call step. I mean, first उठो, ये काम करो, इसके बाद ये करो, इसके बाद ये करो. Why? Again comes a question. Why do you want to do this after this? दंतधावन करने के बाद ही तैलाभ्यंग क्यों करना है? After तैलाभ्यंग only you have to do your exercise. Only then afterwards you have to do your you have to take bath. तो वहां पर एक क्रम बताया गया है, तो उस क्रम का पीछे कारण क्या है? अगेन देयर इज अ लॉजिकल आंसर फॉर दैट, क्योंकि ये कारण है, तो इसको यहाँ पर ये होना चाहिए, तो वो प्रोसेस में जो होता है, तो उस अचीव करने के लिए मतलब जो अच्छा एक फल है उसको प्राप्त करने के लिए ये क्रम जो है ये अच्छा है। ये कैसा पता चला तुमको? अन्वय व्यतिरेक जो व्याप्ति जो बताए थे, जब ऐसा ऐसा हमने किया है तो अच्छा लगा है, इसका विपरीत क्रम में हम गए तो विपरीत परिणाम होंगे, तो इसीलिए हमने ये क्रम को ही तय किया है। सो उसके पीछे भी एक कारण होता है। ईच एंड एवरीथिंग हैज अ स्ट्रक्चर टू इट, and that structure has a reason to it. And how do you define a reason? That is again a topic, a subject which is dealt only in Anvikshaki. Each and everywhere the medication differs. That means each and every patient is different from the other. कहीं पर उसके, so that is why you need to know how the classifications have been done. The rogas have been classified into three. Doshaja, Karmaja and Ubhayaja. तो दोषजा मीन्स वात पित्त कफ दोष होते हैं, उनके जो इम्बैलेंसेस होते हैं उनके वजह से होते हैं प्योरली। कहीं होते हैं कर्म जो होते हैं, जो नॉर्मली नाउअडेज मे बी दे डोंट बिलीव इन। कर्म का मतलब है पाप और पुण्य, उनके वजह से कहीं रोग हो सकते हैं। और कहीं रोग होते हैं जहाँ पे 50% दोष का कारण है और 50% कारण है आपके कर्म। तो आप इन जैसे उभय जो दोष और कर्म जो दोष जो है उनकी जो क्यूर के लिए आपका जो I mean the way in order to address those things, the approach is different. So each and everywhere Anvikshaki comes in. So again, the other way of seeing darshan is Astika darshan and Nastika darshan. So it is defined into two ways, Astika and Nastika. And the word Astika comes from the word from Asti, and Nastika comes from the word Nasti. So Asti means that is there, and Nasti means not there. So what is there and what is not there? That is the belief. Whether you believe that after death there is another life. Asti parolokaha iti yaha manute saha astika. So people who believe in Punarjanma or reincarnation are called as Astikas. And people who don't believe that there is another, I mean, rebirth, they are called as Nastikas. This is the etymological meaning of the words Astika and Nastika. Or there is another, even what you call reason behind this bifurcation could be that the Astikas believe Vedas being sources of valid knowledge. That means they accept Vedas as sources of valid knowledge, and the Nastikas do not believe in Vedas. Even this is also the other way around, the another way of bifurcating the darshanas into two. So we have 6 Astika darshanas. Famously, I would say, we cannot. It is not needed that necessary. There are other darshanas also, more than 6 also you can quote, but predominantly it is stated that there are 6 Astika darshanas: Nyaya, Vaiseshika, Sankhya Yoga, Purva Mimamsa and Uttar Mimamsa. And famous Nastika darshanas could be called as Jaina, Bauddha, Charvaka and etc. So here again we can group the Astika darshanas into two, that is Nyaya Vaiseshika into one, Sankhya Yoga into one, and Mimamsa, the both Mimamsas, Purva Mimamsa and Uttar Mimamsa, they can also clubbed into one as Mimamsa Shastra. I'll even explore about why Nyaya and Vaiseshika can be clubbed into one, because now whatever we are studying, it is not pure Nyaya or pure Vaiseshika, it is an amalgamation of Nyaya and Vaiseshika. And then even Sankhya and Yoga, even though the fundamentals maybe differ a bit, but mostly the things are same, so that is why they can clubbed into one. So in this way, the bifurcation of darshanas is done. And the other common aspect of darshanas, I mean Astika darshanas, is, I mean, there are two things that I've said. One is believing in reincarnation. The other one is believing Vedas as, sources of valid knowledge. And the other thing would be that the Astika darshanas believe in these 4 purusharthas, which are famous: dharma, artha, kama and moksha. And there is another beautiful thing of this, why dharma, artha, kama and moksha? Why not kama, artha, dharma and moksha? So there is a maybe a kind of an interpretation that can be done. Is artha and kama being very much, they both are very, I don't need to, explain much about artha and kama, because we experience that in our day-to-day life. Artha is called as wealth, which we actually work for, and kama is the propeller for that, which actually drives us. So these both things we experience in our life. But what is the uniqueness of these darshanas is that if you see, Kama and Artha are bound by dharma, essentially. In the Nastika school, Kama and Artha are bound by dharma, and the main achievable of any person would be moksha. So if you ask the main question, what is the purpose of life for the Astikas, it would be moksha. Or all the six darshanas state what is the Parama Purushartha. Even though there are Purusharthas, there is only one Parama Purushartha. The greater Purushartha among all these four would be moksha. So, everywhere, each and every darshana states that moksha is the Parama Purushartha, that is the achievable for any person. And in order to achieve that particular moksha, what is the path? That is leading your life bound by arthakamas, bound by dharma, which will lead towards moksha. And what is the path? The path is being told in each and every darshan. The path differs, the definition of moksha differs. What is moksha? Nyaya states something, Vaisheshika has something else, Sankhya say something else, Purva Mimamsa say something else, Vedantin say something else. But each and everyone use the word moksha. But the definition of moksha differs. So here again comes the definition. How do you define? Again you go to Anvikshaki. So in that way, again Anvikshaki is relevant everywhere. Kama is desire and Artha is wealth. So this is being called as Purushartha. Why? So it is moreover like after knowing something which you want, another thing, another fundamental question, as if I asked previously, what is life all about? Two things, sukha and dukkha, experience of sukha and dukkha daily. In the same way, our nature, human nature, or the nature of anyone, any living creature would be of two types, which we call it as heya and upadeya. That means you thrive for something, when you want something, your efforts are towards that, and the other thing is you want to avoid something. Heya means you want to avoid something. What do you want to avoid? At the end, dukkha, whatever it could be, which will lead to dukkha. Dukkha or anything that leads to dukkha, you want to avoid. What is upadeya? You want something. That is happiness or else whatever leads to happiness. And what is happiness? Again, that is subject to definition. I don't know what is happiness for you. Again, there is a difference. The source of happiness differs, but the definition of happiness will not differ. It is only that you experience happiness, but you cannot define happiness. Without I know the definition of happiness because I am a student of Nyaya Shastra. But you being not, open for that knowledge, or you don't know the definition, you can only say that I can experience happiness, but I cannot define happiness. Right? Whatever you think to be definition of happiness will lead to something that it will be the source of happiness and not happiness. What are you thinking self is? How do you define self from your perspective? We actually use many words in order to express something which actually we think we know, but the words are not able to express them in very clear cut. No, if I say what is sukha, इतरेच्छानधीनेच्छा विषयत्वं सुखत्वं. There is a definition of sukham given in Nyaya Shastra. This definition of certain definitions, they are like universal. But in order to experience that or in order to express the same thing, the path may differ. The kind of pedagogy that they use may differ. Vedanta uses in a very classical manner. The Mandukya Upanishad gives you in a very simple answers. Like, if you want to know what is you, who are you, then comes if you want to know who are you, there is a method of knowing it. So you start with there are three avasthas. तीन अवस्थाएं रहती है हर दिन. चेतनावस्था, स्वप्नावस्था, सुषुप्ति अवस्था, which we experience every day in our life. Rather, every day, okay, swapnaवस्था, maybe we can put it in a bracket, but that happens actually, even scientifically also proven. So, which we call it as ERM sleep, REM, rapid eye movement, which they call it as. So, there are three avasthas, three states each and every person actually experiences in life, right? So, is there any way to know who are you? Yes, there is a way which has been propounded by the Upanishads. It states that you are Brahman, but that experience of me being Brahman is actually not that logical. I mean, the first a perception would be, how can it be Tattvamasi? It is stating Tattvamasi. You are Parabrahman, which goes against your direct perception. Your sensory perception actually states I am different and the God is different. I mean, let alone the God. I am different and there are many other people I am seeing. But the Upanishad state that everything is nothing but Brahman. Sarvam Khalvidam Brahma. But you see that no, each and every person is different. So it states again that you are Brahman. And what is the definition of Brahman? Satyam Jnanam Anantam Brahma. So how do you know this? So it gives you another way of, it helps you with, this avastha system. It gives you this explanation. So what is Chetana Avastha? What happens in Chetana Avastha? I mean, this state of what we are. So how do you define Chetana Avastha? Your sthula sharira or your external body is working. All your sensory organs, whether they are Jnanendriyas or Karmendriyas, are in a working state, then you call it as a Chetana Avastha. So this is how you define Chetana Avastha. So this is Chetana Avastha. Then what is Swapna Avastha? मतलब आपकी एक्सपीरियंस क्या है स्वप्नावस्था में? आप डरते हैं, आप देखते हैं, आप महसूस करते हैं, ये चीजें हो सकती है कि नहीं? आप देखते हैं, सुनते हैं, महसूस करते हैं, खाते हैं, पीते हैं, सब कुछ होता है. मतलब इंद्रियों से जो कुछ भी होता है, ज्ञानेंद्रियों से, वो सब कुछ आप महसूस कर सकते हैं. मगर क्या ये आप बोल सकते हैं कि आपके इंद्रिय वहां पर काम कर रहे हैं? तो क्या काम कर रहा है वहां पर? वहां पर आप ऐसे विषय को देखते हैं कभी कभी आपने जो देखा ही नहीं अभी. तो उसीलिए आप ये नहीं कह सकते हैं कि जो कुछ भी मैंने एक्सपीरियंस किया है वहां पर व्याप्ति नहीं है. देयर इज नो इनवेरिएबल कंकमिटेंस कि आपने अभी तक जो बाल्यावस्था से लेके अभी तक जो आपने महसूस किया है उसी का वहां पर रिमेम्बरेंस होगा, ऐसे कोई आपका नहीं है. जो आपके जीवन में या इस जीवन में अभी तक जो देखे ही नहीं उसका भी महसूस आप स्वप्नावस्था में कर सकते हैं. डेजावू होता है कभी आपका, वही. हाँ, कभी होता है कि आप अरे यार मैं स्वप्न में देखा है. सिक्स्थ सेंस जो बोलते हैं नॉर्मली, जो चीजें जिन चीजें को अभी कंट्रोवर्शियल बना देते हैं मगर शास्त्रों में कहा गया है कि उस चीज का मतलब एक परिणाम हो सकता है. नाम आप कुछ भी दीजिए मगर आपकी एक्सपीरियंस क्या है? मेरा यही है कि आपके एक्सपीरियंस से आप उसको कैसे एग्जामिन करते हैं या क्लासिफाई कैसा कर सकते हैं आप कि वहां पर अभी स्वप्नावस्था में I mean we are exploring about what स्वप्नावस्था is all about. So how do you define स्वप्नावस्था? चेतनावस्था को तो हमने डिफाइन कर दिया है कि जहां पे हमारा जो कोई भी ज्ञानेंद्रिय है, कर्मेंद्रिय है, हमारा स्थूल शरीर जो एक्सटर्नल बॉडी जो कहते हैं वो काम कर रहा है, वो जागृत अवस्था है, हो गया है. देन व्हाट इज स्वप्नावस्था? आंखें सिर्फ बंद रहने से वो स्वप्नावस्था में है ऐसा नहीं. जब आपकी बॉडी काम कर रहा है ना, इट इज अ रिफ्लेक्शन ऑफ समथिंग. तो देन यू आर नॉट इन द स्टेट ऑफ, उसको उसको अचेतनावस्था कहते हैं, स्वप्नावस्था नहीं कहते, मूर्छावस्था कहते हैं. देयर इज अ वेरी स्लाइट डिफरेंस बिटवीन बीइंग इन स्वप्नावस्था एंड बीइंग इन मूर्छावस्था. वही बताते हैं. तो उसीलिए डेफिनेशंस आर वेरी मच नीडेड. मूर्छावस्था क्या होती है? मूर्छावस्था जो होती है ना, वो जागृत और स्वप्न के बीच में होता है. देन स्वप्नावस्था इज दैट अवस्था वेयरइन ओनली योर माइंड इज वर्किंग. आपका जो मन है सिर्फ वही काम कर रहा है, कुछ और काम नहीं कर रहा है. और वहां पे जो उपाधि बोलते हैं, जैसे कि एक उपाधि रहता है जागृत अवस्था में, जो आपकी स्थूल शरीर है, योर एक्सटर्नल बॉडी. You have something called as a Sukshma Sharira, which is the Upadhi for the Swapnavastha. Okay, so that is called as Sukshma Sharira. Again, what is Sukshma Sharira? There is again a definition for that. And then you go for something called as Sushupti Avastha, which is deep sleep, wherein you don't know anything. This is being experienced by everyone in our life or not? This you experience. So, what is this experience all about? How do you define your deep sleep? After each and every day, you experience this, and you have a very great feeling of bliss, a state of bliss. You experience immense happiness, from which actually you derive everything. Even though if you don't eat for 2-3 days, you don't bother about, but without a good sleep, you don't again retain energy. So that अवस्था, जो उस अवस्था में दो चीजें हैं. एक है कि आप कुछ भी नहीं जान रहे, you're not knowing anything. So what is the, how do you express your sushupti avastha? Is that sukham asvapsam na kinchid avedsham. I have experienced immense bliss and I did not know anything. This is how you express it, right? So that state of bliss minus this not knowing is actually yourself. This is how one school actually defines self. So stating Upanishads, quoting Upanishads is a different way of doing. It is more about a secondary explanation of what yourself is, without experiencing what you are actually. This is another way of putting forth things in a very experiential way, giving examples of your life. You experience this every day, right? Each and every person experiences this every day. This is also the another way of explanation. If I start my explanation about what self is about in this way, it seems sensible to you because you are able to connect with it. If I start quoting Upanishads right away and saying that Brahma is this, Brahma is that, Brahma is this according to this Upanishad, you feel it to be very dry. And the same Upanishads actually have stated this also. And if I start using these explanations, these are very relatable to you because you experience this in everyday life. But there is something element they say minus this. I mean, you stated, right, I don't know. You don't know anything, but you experience. So there are two elements in the Sushupti Avastha. That is not knowing and experience of bliss. Right? So until this is common to each and everyone. So this is something which you know. I brought you till this point. And then state what is Turiya Avastha. I state that sans not knowing. Remove that not knowing thing, which is called as ajnanam, maya, whatever it is. Remove that, and if you are in a state of sans that, the express blissfulness, whatever you experience, if you are that, then that is called as Turyavastha. That is what actually the Satyam Jnanam Anantam Brahma, or the Brahma state of being Brahman, then you can relate even though you don't experience now. It is like, okay, fine, because you have understood at least 25%, you have come till that, and you can, after that, you can actually do this uha. I mean, at least you can, okay, think about it. Okay. That is Turyavastha. This is what again is called as Samadhyavastha in yoga, stating this blissfulness whenever you want, even in Jagrata Avastha. They state that. What is Samadhi? This blissfulness whenever you want, on demand. And again, some in Samadhi you have again different kind of states of Samadhi, Samprajnata, Samprajnata, whatever you say. You have other things about it. So, in this way or that way, there is a technique in this. So, these can be, these kind of nuances can be understood very much if you are a student of Nyaya. If you are a pure student of Sankhya or Yoga, it may be a bit difficult for you to relate. If you are a student of Nyaya first and then a student of Sankhya, then you can understand the inner layers of these things in a very way, because you are knowing from where connecting dots. What are the connecting dots? Why the technology behind this, actually, to be frank. It is moreover like a person who knows coding will know the back end of the software, can actually see the back end of the software. But a mere user, he only knows the user interface of it. He doesn't know the real what is happening, how it is reflecting. A particular code is reflecting on a particular software in a particular user interface. The only mere user will not understand. A person who knows that particular coding can understand from where what is going. In the same way, Anvikshaki or the aspects of Anvikshaki are useful. Uh, in order, while you understand, while you study deeper subjects, then you understand the interconnectedness of the whole subjects. How these Purusharthas, again, I think the battery is low in this system. So how these Purusharthas are, they have a relation in your day-to-day life. So Darshana, Shastra helps you in that way, and in Astika Darshana, all the four Purusharthas are essential. Historical timeline, even though as I come from a traditional this thing, we actually don't believe, I should say, in this dating. I am only here stated the dating for the sake of, because we are all used to this chronology. But it is not that whatever datings have been given here are perfect. I would like to state with that, disclaimer. I would like to go ahead, because for us, samsara is anadi, and the knowledge sources, whatever are there, the knowledge is eternal. That means that is there, and it has been envisaged by the rishis. That means they are the drashtas of the knowledge. They have just seen the knowledge, experienced, I should say. Seen means they have experienced the knowledge and they just put it down. So that is why we call them to be pravartakas and not the kartas of the particular school. Nyaya Darshana will have a pravartaka and not the karta. Each and every this thing, even the Vedas are called, that is why called as apaurusheyas. They are not written by someone. So Vedas have been envisaged by rishis. So it is not that it has been started from this point in time, it evolved like this and like that. It is only that we know Gautama Maharshi from this point in time, and from that point of time, it is being called as Nyaya Darshana. It doesn't mean that beyond pre Gautama there is no logic. Logic is there every time. It is only that particular Maharshi has envisaged those and put it in the form of sutras in that particular form of time at that point in time, and then started this kind of a sampradaya. That is what we actually believe in. So we can bifurcate them into three: Prachina Varga, Madhyama Varga, and Arvachina Varga. That is ancient school of Indian logic, medieval school of Indian logic, and modern school of Indian logic. So somewhere from 150 BC to 850 AD, that is called as the Prachina Varga. 850 AD to 12th century is Madhyama Varga, and then 12th century to 17th century to be the Arvachina Varga. So these are some of the main, thinkers that I am stating. It doesn't mean that these are the only thinkers of Nyaya Darshana. These are some of the main. That is Akshapada Gautama, who is the Drashta for Nyaya, who is the Pravartaka of Nyaya Darshana. He has written the Nyaya Sutras, which are the basis of Nyaya Darshana. So he belongs to 150 BC, and we have something called as Pancha Granthi Prakriya. So in order to understand Nyaya Sutras or Nyaya Darshana, there are 5 elements to it: the Sutra, Vritti, Bhashya, Tika, Tika Parishuddhi. So there are 5 base, commentaries upon commentaries. So first the Nyaya Sutras were written by Akshapada Gautama, and then Vatsyayana has written the Nyaya Bhashya, commentary to those, at around 400 AD, and Udyotakara has written Vartika to the Nyaya Sutras themselves at 635 AD. These are all approximate dates, and Vachaspati Mishra has written Nyaya Vartika Tatparya Tika. So he has written a Tika upon the Vartikas. So it's a commentary upon a commentary. So until now we consider it to be Prachina Nyaya, and upon that Udayanacharya has written Nyaya Vartika Tatparya Tika Parishuddhi, which you call it as Parishuddhi also. So starting from the Nyaya Sutra, if we see 1, Bhashya 2, Vartika 3, Vartika Tatparya Tika 4, and Vartika Tatparya Tika Parishuddhi 5. So these 5 are called as Panchagranthi. So the study of these 5 things, a comprehensive understanding of Prachina Nyaya or Nyaya Darshana can be achieved. And Udayanacharya has written he has other works also to his credit, like Nyaya Kusumanjali, etc. But I just took only one because it comes with the Panchagranthi this thing. And then there is Jayanta Bhatta, who again who is there around, who comes around 10th century, whose time is around 10th century, has written something called as Nyaya Manjari, which is again a commentary upon the Nyaya Sutras. So this is the medieval period wherein there is where they started commenting or working on theories or doctrines independently also. So until then, in the Prachina Varga, what is the difference between the Prachina Varga and a Madhyamika Varga is, in Prachina Varga it is more about the Prachina Nyaya. They stuck to the Nyaya Sutras moreover. But afterwards they started working on independent theories. So that has started, evolved. And in the modern school of Indian logic, it has totally changed. So it is more about, Nyaya Sutras are not actually touched upon. There comes in Gangeshoppadhyaya, in 12th century, who belongs to the Mithila region. So he's written a work called Tattva Chintamani. So this is the period of the starting of Navya Nyaya, wherein the whole Nyaya, uh, uh, the subject, as stated even in the previous session, due to the emergence of Jaina and Bauddhas, the whole structure has been, the approach has been different. It has become more technical, more kind of stuck to logic a lot, and it is more a kind of a debating kind of a thing. It goes into that. It is more about Purvapaksha and Uttarapaksha kind of a. Even the style of writing also differs a lot. It is more like very much cruel. I mean, if you see the wordings, it will be very big sentences with a lot of technical terms into it, and it becomes more from a classical thing to very intrinsic, very small detailed microscopic kind of an approach about detailing and reasoning aspects of it. So it goes into more very detailed what you call explanations or exploring about things in a very detailed manner, very minuscule manner. So that starts, that kind of a tendency started from this point in time. And here also, as in the Prachina Varga, the basic text was Nyaya Sutras. From here onwards, what happened was Gangesh Upadhyay's Tattva Chintamani became that base. So Tattva Chintamani became the basis. So commentaries upon Tattva Chintamani came here. Many people started writing commentaries upon Tattva Chintamani because that was needed at that point in time. So then there is Vardhaman Upadhyaya, who is son of Gangesh Upadhyaya, who has written a commentary on Tattva Chintamani called Prakasha, Tattva Chintamani Prakasha. And then Raghunatha Shiromani, who is between 14th and 15th AD, he wrote something called as a very famous, even today we study, which is called as Didhiti. Didhiti is the commentary upon Tattva Chintamani. So that is a commentary. And then Mathuranath Tarkavagisha has written something called as Tattva Chintamani Rahasya, which is called as Mathuri. This is also a direct commentary upon Tattva Chintamani. These both are very much famous. And then comes Jagadisha Tarkalankara around 1625, who has written something, a commentary called as Jagadishi. It is called as Jagadishi because it was written by Jagadisha. Jagadishena idam rachitam iti iyam Jagadishi. So the Vyakhya or the commentary is called as Jagadishi. Again, Jagadishi is a commentary upon Didhiti and not on Tattva Chintamani. So we have three steps: Tattva Chintamani, Didhiti, then comes Jagadishi. Even today, there is a parampara that studies Jagadishi. And there are, again, as I told you, from the medieval period, they have started writing their own, they started working on their own theories about or exploring by themselves. Independently also they started writing. So one of the famous works of Jagadisha Tarkalankara is about Shabda Shakti Prakasha. So this is again called as maybe semantics nowadays. So one again a unique concept from Nyaya Vidya, that is knowledge representation. How are you able to understand whatever I am talking? So this part of it. So there is again a process of knowing, Shakti, Lakshana, Akanksha, Yogyata, Sannidhi, something like that. So Jagadishi and then Shabda Shakti Prakasha are two famous works of Jagadisha Tarkalankara. And another scholar who is again a very different person called as Harirama Tarkavagisha, who is the only person in those, one of the scholars who is totally independent. At that point in time, around 1625, the trend was to write commentaries upon Tattva Chintamani and Didhiti, and there is a scholar who did not even bother about it. He has written many, there are many works to his credit which are only independent. he doesn't touch Tattva Chintamani or these. He has written many works, of which maybe 4 or 5 are only have only been published, and fortunately, I happen to be working on my thesis, which is his work, which hasn't been much explored about. So we are having such works yet now. Even Hariram Tarkavagisha's maybe around 5 to 10 works are not yet published. They are still in the stages of manuscript. So there are independent theories that he propounded in his works. And then there is Gadadhara Bhattacharya, and again another very famous Bengal scholar who has written Gadadhari, which is again a commentary upon Didhiti. So there are two schools now. One is the Jagadishi school, and the other one is called as Gadadhari school. So in maybe around 50 to 70 years back, it used to be such that in South India, we used to have a Jagadishi parampara. I mean, we used to study Jagadishi, and in the north, maybe in the Kashi, in the Varanasi and the Bengal region, they used to study Gadadhari. Gadadhari is more deeper actually. It is more technical. And now it is that even we also study Gadadhari. I only took those works which are being studied now, which are only not there in the form of books. But even today, this Patana Parampara still exists, that we study Tattva Chintamani, Didhiti and Gadadhari or Jagadishi. So even today, this is a living tradition that is being followed. And Nyaya, Prachina Nyaya is also being studied, but not as the Navya Nyaya schools are being, studied. And then there is evolution of Tarka Shastra. I mean, till now it was like Nyaya Darshana or something, and the other word that is being used is Tarka Shastra. So everyone will ask, is there a difference between Nyaya Shastra and Tarka Shastra? Actually, there is not much of a difference, but in what sense it is different is because after a period of time, it happened to be so that some elements of Nyaya Darshana, some elements of Vaiseshika Darshana have been amalgamated and works have been created or have been done, wherein aspects of Vaiseshika and Nyaya are both there. Such as, if we see in 1250 AD, Keshav Mishra has written something called as Tarka Bhasha. It is an introductory work, Tarka Bhasha, which is purely which actually deals with Nyaya Darshana itself. That means based on Nyaya Sutras, it is an introductory work of Nyaya Sutras, you can say so, Nyaya Darshana. So he doesn't touch Vaiseshika Darshana in his work. It is purely, it deals with Nyaya Darshana. And around that time only, Vallabhacharya has written something called as Nyaya Leelavati, which he deals with the Vaiseshika only. Then in 1623 AD, we have a scholar called Annam Bhatta from the South India, who has written a very famous introductory work called Tarka Sangraha, which is even now we start Shastra Adhyayana with this work, Tarka Sangraha, wherein you have elements of Vaiseshika Darshana and Nyaya Darshana also. I mean, the fundamental difference between Vaiseshika and Nyaya Darshana would be Nyaya Darshana defines or classifies the universe into 16 padarthas, and the Vaiseshika Darshana classifies the universe into 7 padarthas. It sees the whole universe into 7 padarthas: Dravya, Guna, Karma, Samanya, Vishesha, Samvaya and Abhava. And Nyaya Darshana goes something like Pramana, Prameya, Samshaya, Prayojana. But he starts with 7 padarthas, but after somewhere he takes something from Nyaya Darshana in the Tarka Sangraha. Some concepts are based on Nyaya Darshana, some concepts are based on Vaiseshika Darshana. So it is moreover like a hybrid. So it has both the aspects. So it is kind of a, they have created a very robust system wherein they are using both the knowledge systems in order to understand, which are actually similar. They go hand in hand. That is what they meant. maybe there could be some little differences in the fundamentals, but at the end, if we see as in a whole, they both seem to be the same. So that is the understanding of the scholars at that point in time. So they started, writing or creating works such as Tarka Sangraha. And again, even in 1634, there is another famous scholar called Vishwanatha Pancharana who has written uh, works called like Kadikavali, Muktavali. Even today we study them. So again, there also you have the Vaisheshika Darshana elements to it and even Nyaya Darshana elements to it. So what is the basic difference between? So is that elements of both the darshanas are there. As I told you, the uniqueness of Anvikshaki. I've been dealing with this even in the whole this thing also. Some of the topics that are very much unique to Anvikshaki are the art of Shastric expression, art of debate, means of knowledge, art of definition, technicality of reasoning. So here only I would to touch upon this particular something called as art of Shastric expression, because the other things have been dealt here and there. So what I meant by Shastric expression is this is something similar to if a student of like a chemistry, how does a student of chemistry uh, define or express what is water? He says is to be H2O, right? H2O is the expression of that particular subject about water. So they see everything in the types of molecules. What are the kind of molecules that are there, the number of it. Those things actually are, uh, uh, so that is the, as if coding is a scientific expression of something. So in the same way, the Shastras have their own way of expressing things. If I have to say that there is a pot on this particular floor, the student of Tarka Shastra will have a different language to express the same thing. So there is something called as colloquial expression and something called as Shastric expression. And this Shastric expression, where it emerges from Anvikshaki, it emerges from Tarka Shastra, which has been, this is kind of an expression which has been developed at the time of Navya Nyaya. I mean, at the time of this amalgamation of Nyaya and Vaisheshika concepts. That is maybe around 16th and 17th century. This art of Shastric expression, it has been created. So wherein, moreover, like somewhere like there are pots in the on the rocks. So this is how we express it. Pashana is stone and ghata is pot. So there is a pot upon the stone. So this is what I want to express. If I have to say it in a plain language, Sanskrit language, I would say Pashane ghataha asti. So this is how I express it. But in the Shastra, I would express it like this: Pashana nishtha adhikaranata nirupita adheyatavan ghataha. So this is how I express it. Because there comes in adhikaranata, adheyata. So these are all technical terms that they have actually created. So Pashana nishtha. So this is how they so there is something called as adhikaranam. That is the basis. Adhikaranam means basis. Adheya means something that which is upon that. So there is something called as adhikaranata, adheyata. There is a relation between those both. So each and everything is actually very much the expression itself is different here. So this is one of the topics which is very much unique to Nyaya Shastra or Anvikshaki. And I would like to just end my session with this shloka. Yadatra saušthavam kinchit tad guroreva me nahi, yadatra asaušthavam kinchit tan mamaiva nave guroho. So whatever virtues that were there in my presentation, I dedicate those all to my gurus. And if there were any shortcomings, that are only to me and not, there is no relation between them and my gurus. So this is how I end my. Thank you very much.